And showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. A look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, one of your hosts on this program. With me is my co-host, Eric Simpson, who is a business improvement and transformation consultant for MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how's it going this week?
Well, it's going great now that it's the end of the week, Rich, right before the holiday.
Indeed, indeed. We're recording this on a Friday. I'm taking next week off. Looking forward to it. So it's TGIF, Eric.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
Well, we're right on the doorstep of the holidays here, and it's been a relatively quiet news week. But there was one giant bombshell of a story that broke this week, and that's our top story on this show, and that, of course, is Kaseya buying IT Glue. Now, for those of you who have been following this drama all year, we know that in March, Kaseya and IT Glue announced an integration pact. They were going to be working together at the source code level to embed a version of the IT Glue documentation product inside Kaseya's RMM. And pretty much ever since then, everyone's been wondering, would Kaseya eventually just buy IT Glue? And I've spoken to the CEO of Kaseya probably half a dozen times since then. I spoke to Chris Day, the CEO of IT Glue, in September. And, they said what they kind of needed to say and what I would say in their shoes, which is, no, we're not planning on an acquisition. Turns out we learned this week that they've been on a path to an acquisition for the last 2 years. Fred Vacola, the CEO of Kaseya, and Chris Day of IT Glue met 3 years ago. 2 years ago, they signed an agreement that defined a series of milestones that was designed to culminate ultimately in Kaseya buying IT Glue. And in fact, 2 years ago, that deal gave Kaseya a controlling interest in IT Glue, and nobody really knew about it until now. But that deal did complete in November, and the news broke this week. And so what is far and away the #1 managed services documentation platform in the industry is now part of Kaseya. And obviously that is something that's going to grab the attention of a whole lot of MSPs who use IT Glue but don't use RMM or PSA products from Kaseya. And basically what Fred Vacola told me this week in my interview with him was the only difference those MSPs are going to notice, if you're using IT Glue but not other Kaseya products, only difference you're going to notice is that IT Glue now has access to Kaseya's deep pockets, which means the product roadmap is going to have more on it and it's going to move faster. So this is good news for you. There's going to be more functionality, more goodness from IT Glue coming your way more rapidly. They are 100% committed, he emphasized very strongly, to openness in every regard. And in fact, they've already offered every other RMM PSA platform maker out there the ability to integrate with IT Glue every bit as closely as Kaseya does now. And at one point in that conversation, Fred said, if we were to do anything else, essentially, if we were to force MSPs to become Kaseya customers, if they want to keep using IT Glue, it would be, quote unquote, the death warrant of Kaseya. So according to Kaseya, nothing to worry about if you're an IT Glue user who doesn't use their RMM PSA. But I guess this is one of those situations, Eric, where time will tell.
You're right about that, Rich. I mean, it's a fine line to walk, right? Where, something like this happens that can potentially impact so many different users, and, the reaction and response to those users that, may feel, whoa, does that mean that, I'm going to be forced to do something that, I wasn't planning on doing, or maybe, divorce myself from, some vendors that I'm using in order to continue using these products. So it does create a lot of, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I think that, the best way to approach it is for the leadership to come forward and be as transparent as they're promoting they're going to be, and to reassure existing partners. And of course, also integration partners. I mean, what does that mean for other vendors that are thinking of integrating? And, is there going to be some channel conflict there? So, you're right. Time will tell.
And that last point you made there is the one that's, or one of the several things about this deal that's really interesting to me, is the decisions that the ConnectWises and Dattos and TigerPaws of the world kind of have to make now, where they have the opportunity, allegedly at least, to integrate very tightly with IT Glue, just the way Kaseya has. If you don't do that, you're essentially giving your customers, potentially at least, if they're really wedded to IT Glue, an incentive to think about switching platforms. If you do it, you're really kind of locking those MSPs into IT Glue as a documentation platform, and potentially opening the door to conversations or approaches from Kaseya. It's a tricky needle to thread if you're ConnectWise or Datto or SolarWinds MSP right now.
Right. And, it wouldn't be tough to assume that, all of those considerations and potential outcomes and things were the reason why they kind of, denied all of this going on and kept it under very tight seal until, this week's announcement.
So, as you said, a big key to this going forward is transparency, and your tip of the week, Eric, has to do with transparency as well, with respect to the org chart.
Absolutely, Rich. So today's tip of the week is all about fostering a culture of transparency and objectivity and teamwork among your staff, and giving them the understanding of how the organization is set up, where they fit in the organization, and what they can potentially succeed to moving up the ladder in an organization. As I work with more and more partners, Rich, I'm surprised at the number of them that don't have a documented org chart, no matter how small or large the organization. Either it's non-existent, or it's not been updated, or they get to the point where they've grown so much where they can't figure out how to visually display it. And, once you get to a certain level, what you want to do is break it down into departments and things like that. But it's important for the team to understand, what's the hierarchy, right? What is the chain of command in the organization? Where do they sit? And what is their potential succession strategy to move up the ladder? The way to do that, in one way, to promote the opportunity for folks to succeed in the organization, is to publish that org chart and let them know where we have everyone sitting in what roles. And in many cases, some partners that I work with say, well, this person wears 4 hats, this person wears 8 hats. And I say, yes, make it a role-based organization chart. And if somebody's wearing 4 hats, put their name in 4 spaces, because there's opportunity there, right? Wow. Now, if I come into the organization and I say I'm in the technical side of the house, and I'm a level 2 technician or engineer, and I see above me, I see, oh, wow, look, there's level 3, there's dispatch, there's project management, there's sales engineering, all the things that make me want to strive to be better. Hey, there's even, VP of service and CIO, CTO. Give everyone an opportunity to see that, and then also position what the future looks like for the organization. So now we're promoting where we are today and how we're going to grow and how we're going to staff up, and what those other open opportunities will be for internal staff to compete for, before we have to go outside and hire in from outside the organization. So I think it's a great way to show the staff that you're positioned to grow. You've got a strategy to do that, where they fit, and where potentially they can grow into in their career with your organization.
And it's interesting. I would just say, so this is an example of transparency, but it feels like to me that just transparency in general, even beyond the org chart, is just a value, a virtue to be cultivated basically by any business. It's just motivating for employees to feel like they're included, they're aware, they know what's going on. As opposed to feeling like, any decision that matters is getting made way over their head. They don't really understand how the business is structured, where it's going, what the strategy is. Pretty much, you can't tell everybody everything. but pretty much any time that you can be more open about how the business runs, it's going to be better for the business in the long run by just motivating people to feel included.
Sure. And then the next step is now to publish the job description for each of those roles. So now we get an idea of what does it take to do that job. If I want to compete for this job or that job, what does that mean, right? And even better yet, if there's a salary range for those positions, right? So, and then, the biggest thing is folks think that, is that my responsibility or is that your responsibility, Rich? Well, according to the org chart, that's you, right? And then, we can clarify some of these things along the way. So, lots of benefit from publishing an org chart. I don't see any downside to doing it whatsoever. I mean, I think it fosters more inclusivity, as you mentioned, and it makes the team feel more part of the team when they know where everybody is and where they fit into that.
Well, great tip. And it leaves us with time for just one more story this week. And it involves somebody it's just my hero of the week, basically. I call him the Grinch Slayer. Because he has come up with an ingenious way to do something about those terrible people out there who steal Amazon packages off of porches. And of course, if you're doing it this time of year, you're probably stealing somebody's Christmas gift. 30% of Americans say that they've suffered from this problem, but somebody made the mistake of doing it to Mark Rober, who is an ex-NASA engineer, and he wasn't going to just settle for this. He spent about 6 months, and this is courtesy of CNBC, spent about 6 months combining GPS tracking, cameras, fart spray, didn't know that existed, and glitter in an elaborate and amusing mechanism after discovering thieves had stolen an Amazon delivery from his doorstep. Basically, he created this sort of booby trap that explodes and showers somebody with massive amounts of glitter and, I guess, fart spray if they steal a package off of somebody's porch. And, bravo, Mark Rober. Thank you very much for creating some kind of deterrent, basically, for the terrible people out there who steal Christmas gifts.
Champion of the week.
Champion of the week. Exactly. And that is the week that we have for you here on the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you very much for joining us. We will actually be taking next week off for the holidays. We've been doing this show nonstop every week since I believe it was January. Eric, it's been a fine 2018 for this program, and we will be back right away with you first part of 2019. We are going to take the last week of this year off to spend some time with our families. If you like the show, you want to catch up on some past episodes you may have missed, keep track of the future ones as they come along, you want to go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube and subscribe there, and we'll keep you informed about all the upcoming episodes and the past ones. You want to read more about Kaseya and IT Glue, read stories like that, get all sorts of business growth strategy information. Go to channelpronetwork.com on a daily basis. We've got all sorts of great news and information for you there every day. To learn more about Eric and the services that he provides, you want to go to ericsimpson.com. That's ERICK Simpson.com. You'll learn everything you need to know there. So thank you very much again for joining us on the 5-Minute Roundup. Join us again on our next episode. Until then, enjoy the rest of this week and next week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of this week and your next week already.